All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Cody, and I am a grateful member of Anon. Thank you for the invitation to speak at this meeting. It's always important, I think, to bring in the Al-Anon perspective on alcoholism because it's a family disease. It affects everyone it comes in contact with. Alcoholism is, I describe it as sort of a two-sided disease. There's the internal component of it that the alcoholic deals with. But then there's the external component that everyone who comes in contact with the alcoholic has to deal with. To be a member of Al-Anon, you just have to be the friend or family member of someone whose drinking is affecting you. So the person doesn't even need to admit that they're drunk for you to come in. Their drinking just has to be messing up your shit, basically, and you can be a member of Al-Anon. That's what it boils down to. Because, as we know, a lot of alcoholics are in denial about their alcoholism. Like, they just are. That's a key component of the disease. Now, I grew up in a family where it's a shorter list if I make a list of the people who aren't alcoholics than I do of the people who are. Like, it's just easier. Like, I've done my family tree, and I've gone up to my great-great-grandfather who served in the Civil War, and the only thing in his military record is trying to get the charge of drunkenness reduced. That's the extent of his military record. My father is an alcoholic. He sobered up in 78. My father's father wasn't, but he was definitely the adult child of an alcoholic, because that's the thing about alcoholism is the behaviors and the sickness of the disease can infect the family members and then continue on to the next generation when there's actually no drinking, but the behaviors go on generationally. So it is truly, it's like when you throw a big rock in the middle of a calm lake, the shock waves just go out forever. They just keep going. Now myself, it's on my dad's side, it's on my mom's side. I grew up around my mom's dad, who was a farmer. I go and visit him on the farm, and I basically worked as protection to help him, what's looking back now, enable his drinking and protect him from the raging, untreated Al-Anonism of my grandma. Like, I snuck him beers out in the field. I lied about where we went when we went into town for parts for the tractor, all that stuff, And growing up around, and it doesn't matter if a drunk's sober or not, if you grow up around an alcoholic who's sober, the ism is still there. The controlling is still there. The craziness is still there. So I grew up, and by the time I became an adult, I realized that anxiety and controlling things was a normal part of my life, because when you grow up around an alcoholic, you become very controlling, because when you're around an alcoholic, it's so chaos is just what it is. It's just chaos everywhere. So if you think you can just control everything and have everything locked down and have it in black and white and know what's going to happen and have everything okay, then you'll just be okay, because you've dealt with all of this trauma of alcoholism just messing with you for so long that you're so afraid of chaos, and you just know what's best for everyone. You just know that what needs to happen in order for people to be happy. You just know why. You see, Al-Anons, we have pretty much all of the same mental stuff that the alcoholics have, except the Al-Anons don't have the physical craving of alcohol, but what they have is the craving for the alcoholic behavior. Like, it's what they're drawn to. You look at all of my partners, and none of them are mentally stable, normal human beings. Like, they're all just, like, it's gotten better in sobriety, but they're just crazy, because that's what I'm used to. That's what I like. If you're normal, well-balanced, rational human being, you're too boring for me. Like, it's just, like, what's the point? Like, I don't even get it. Like, I don't get it. It's just boring. Because I'm just used to the chaos and the insanity growing up in a family where that's just what it's all about. So finally I got to a point where I realized something had to change. I needed something else in my life, because I was just super obsessing over other people's behaviors. I was just anxiety. I've gotten anxiety so bad that it will literally cause my blood pressure to spike, triggering migraines, because I'll get so anxious and so worked up and so overthink about something that there will be a physiological response where I'll get a migraine. Like, that's not normal behavior, having anxiety and overthinking of something so much to the point where you trigger a migraine. And that was happening on a more regular than I would like basis. So I started going up to Al-Anon, and thankfully, and I can say this because I know she wouldn't have a problem with it, my mom has been going to Al-Anon now for 19 years herself, and, is a solid member of the program. And I always knew her home group, met Tuesday night, 6:30, which it's now my home group. It's Easy Does It, Al-Anon family group. It meets 6:30 p.m. at Olivet Lutheran Church. Yes, there are dudes that go to Al-Anon on the regular. It's not just women. I would say on average, our meeting has at least 40% guys on average. There's been a few nights where it's been a majority guys as well. I mean, so it's not just for women. The stereotypes of Al-Anon being just a bunch of women complaining about their alcoholics is not true. And actually, if it's a healthy Al-Anon group, which my home group is, we spend almost no time talking about the alcoholic. Because, to be blunt, you're not that important when we're trying to get better. You're just not. Like, you're not the center of our universe when we're at Al-Anon meetings at all. You're just a qualifier that gets us there. Once we're through the door, we forget about the alcoholic and focus on us. Because if you read through the Al-Anon literature, there's a big focus in Al-Anon literature about taking care of you, loving yourself, making amends to yourself, making sure that you are well. Because when you're on the external side of alcoholism, it's all about the drunk. It's all about the alcoholic. Everything comes first about the alcoholic. So when you go to Al-Anon, it's all about, there's seriously some really damaged individuals in Al-Anon because they've dealt with the alcoholic for so long. And I'm the type of person where I do nothing as a half measure. Nothing as a half measure. If I do something, it is 100%. So I was like, all right, we're going to do this deal. I'm going to get a sponsor. He's going to take me through the steps. I'm going to work it. Here we go. Let's do this. Because Al-Anon works the steps in the same way, or not in the same way, but the same framework it was built off of Alcoholics Anonymous. In the early days of Al-Anon, before Al-Anon really got its literature going, they would use the big book of AA as their guide and walk them through the steps. And where it said alcoholic, they would a lot of times say co-alcoholic before they developed their own literature. When I came in, my sponsor, I brought a couple of them with just so I could show you that what they are. The two main books that I use, one is Paths to Recovery. It has the steps, traditions, and concepts in it. And then the book that's kind of got the nickname of the Al-Anon Big Book is How Al-Anon Works, because it lays out the steps and then there's stories on it, and it's blue also. So it's kind of got the nickname of the Al-Anon Big Book. So my sponsor took me through the steps, and by taking me through the Al-Anon steps and having this focus on myself, and really for the first time ever in my life, legitimately putting the focus on me and what I need to heal and loving myself, I really started to get a sense of ease and comfort. My anxiety, it's not like you just go to Al-Anon, all of a sudden you flip a switch, your anxiety's gone. I noticed that it was fading away. I noticed that when people were coming up and saying situations where before I would have all kinds of solutions and stuff for them, I'd just be like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. Offer just support instead of shoulding all over people. Well, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this. Like, I avoid shoulding on people now because it's their journey and it's their path they have to go on. And I can't be that codependent individual anymore. Like, I just can't. When I look at my past relationships and my previous marriages and all that stuff, like, there was I did not put myself first a lot of the time. I didn't. I subdued and submitted myself because I just thought if this relationship was okay, then I would be okay. No, I need to be okay, because if I'm not okay, I'm not adding a damn thing to this relationship, so the relationship's not going to be okay. I have to put myself first. And Al-Anon does it. The fourth step in Al-Anon, how I did it, is out of a book called Blueprint for Recovery. And it's a whole 70-page textbook book that takes you through and asks you a gajillion questions and just does a deep dive on everything about you in every way possible. It was probably the most self-reflecting I've ever done in my life. It was the deepest examination of myself from every aspect that I could think of, like every way I could look at in my life. It had me look at me and see how I could heal myself and grow closer to my higher power. Because the whole point of the Al-Anon program is my life is completely crazy and unmanageable because of everyone's alcoholisms. And how I like to describe it is I have all these alcoholisms in my life, and what happens is different shards of other people's alcoholism break off and embed in me. Some are bigger than others. Like obviously my grandfather's was huge. My dad's was a huge one. My great-great-grandfather, little less, but it was still carried on generationally. My brother, who drank himself to death and died in 2021, homeless in Denver, a big old shard of his alcoholism is still, I think probably, I'm still working through some of that stuff, to be quite honest. So there's all of this stuff in front of others' alcoholisms broken off and embedded in me, disconnecting me from my higher power. And what Al-Anon does is it heals me so I can remove those shards, but there's still a wound there that I have to heal. And the 12 steps, as taken from Alcoholics Anonymous and applied to Al-Anon, heal those wounds so that I can have a sense of ease and comfort in my own skin and not be attracted to psychotic behavior anymore of people and not get sucked into their stuff and get rid of my character defects. And Al-Anon does a few things really, really well, I think. One of them, if you come to Al-Anon, not even a whole lot, is they use the slogans a whole lot in Al-Anon, and they have great literature on the slogans. And there's a whole chapter, actually, in how Al-Anon works, describing the slogans. The entire thing is about it, and I just want to go over just a couple that have really brought me some ease and comfort and really lowered my anxiety. One of them is, how important is it? Like, oh my God, this thing occurred, or this person's doing this thing, or they're off doing this thing again that's pissing me off. Well, how important is it really? In Al-Anon, we like to say that there's the 3 C's. Did I cause it? Can I cure it? And can I control it? And the answer, what I found for 99.9% of life things that affect me is I can't do any of those. I don't cause most things. I'm not God. I can't cure it. Again, not God, not some omnipotent presence or an omnipotent creature that can control things. And I can't cure it. I can't do any of those. So how important really is it? I have to let it go, and I have to turn it over to my higher power and realize that I'll be okay. Another one that really helps a lot for me is one day at a time. This idea that, because my whole life has just been, I've never lived in the present. I've always been worrying and obsessing about what I said or did yesterday. What are they going to think? What are they going to do? How's that going to look? Oh my God. Don't even get me started on what my brain looks like when I lay down at night and the thoughts just start racing through. And then I'll switch gears and be like, well, what's going to happen tomorrow? How's work going to go tomorrow? What are they going to say? What's this person going to say? How are they going to react? What's going to happen here? And really, I just have to realize that I just have to live one day at a time and just be in this present moment. And that's helped me a lot in relationships, personal relationships at work. I work in the human service field or social services field, I should say, where I supervise 30-some people across the state of North Dakota. And it's helped a lot with that, supervising and helping individuals, because I work with alcoholics and addicts all the time. And this little part here really gets to me in this part where it talks about one day at a time, where it says, but wasting today, worrying about tomorrow, will not make us any better prepared for difficulties that may present themselves. If they do manifest, those painful problems will not hurt us any less tomorrow, whether we have stewed about them or set them aside today. All our preparation will not have spared us a single ounce of pain. And that really hit me, realizing no matter how much I overthink this and catastrophize something, when it happens, I'm good. If it's good or bad, I'm going to feel the same amount of good or bad feelings, whether or not I've ruined this entire moment right now. So I might as well not worry about it, because I'm going to feel good or bad about it no matter what happens. Why crap all over the present moment and ruin my present day right now? There's just so much. Al-Anon, for me, has, for the first time, really allowed me to live in my own skin really, really, really comforting. Because I can ruin a whole weekend overthinking about something. And I still, I'm not going to sit up here and say I've somehow gotten perfect or magical or great about this. It still will creep in, and I'll have bad moments. But that's why, unless I legitimately can't make it to my Al-Anon home group, I am there every Tuesday at about 6:15ish to, have the meeting before the meeting, to talk with the other guys in the program, see how their day's going. Get invested in their life. If there's a newcomer there, ask him how he's doing. Ask him if he has a sponsor. If he doesn't, I sponsor people in Al-Anon now, and I'm taking them through the same way that I was taken through. And then I stay afterwards to do the meeting after the meeting, where I shake people's hands, see how they're going, if someone shared really deeply. In Al-Anon, people might not realize it, but Al-Anon is life or death stuff as well. Because being around alcoholics, one, it can drive people crazy to the point where they want to hurt themselves, and they do dumb things. Like being on the outside and on the exterior component of alcoholism is just as fatal as being on the inside. The thing is it just takes longer to kill the person. It's usually a much longer death. And a lot of times they might not physically die from it, but mentally they'll get so screwed up that they'll get at an endpoint where, what's the point of living? And also, just to sort of reiterate the important work that Al-Anon does in how Al-Anon works, there's a section where it's, just to show the gravity of alcoholism, there's a section in it entitled, "A Special Word to Anyone Confronted with Violence." Because Al-Anons are on the external side of alcoholics, and alcoholics, not all, but there is a significant number that violence is a part of being around alcoholics. And it's dangerous. And people come into Al-Anon hurt and damaged. That's why in Al-Anon, we really, 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 even in the beginning part of our meetings, we ask not to identify yourself with your last name even, because the anonymity of Al-Anon is so important, because a lot of people come into the program still with the active alcoholic around them. And that is very dangerous a lot of the times. If you go to Al-Anon and the active alcoholic is still active, they can react in a negative way towards that person for getting better. So it is a sanctuary for individuals dealing with the external component of alcoholism. It's brought me a sense of peace and comfort that I didn't quite think was possible. I've been going now for over a year and a half consistently, been through the 12 steps of Al-Anon, working my way through the traditions and concepts, and that's another part of Al-Anon that I really love, is they are not just focused on the steps. My home group, the first week of the month is the meeting is a step, the next week is a tradition, the next week is a concept. So we work through the traditions and the concepts and apply those to our daily lives, and that's just opened up a whole new avenue of how to deal and interact with people that I didn't think was possible before. So if you got any crazy drunks in your life, which if you're a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, you do, there's a spot for anyone in the rooms of Al-Anon. Al-Anon will love you long enough to where you'll eventually get to the point where you will love yourself. That's sort of the payoff of Al-Anon that I can give you today. So if you're curious, more than happy to give you my number and show you, be a friendly face in a meeting of Al-Anon if you want it. Just show up. We usually say just show up about half a dozen times, see if it's for you. If it's not, cool. We'll still be here later on if it is. Thank you for letting me share tonight, and with that, I'll pass.